Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Atlanta Falcons today. It is time for a mailbag video as we jump into all of your guys' subscriber-related questions, anything regarding the Falcons. We answer as many as we can here in about 10 minutes. We'll start with Elong Man, who says, would you consider signing OBJ? Well, as of filming this here early on in the morning, OBJ was just released by the Cleveland Browns, which means he has to go ahead and clear waivers and then can sign with basically any team out in the National Football League. Here's my problem. There are twofold when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr. First, will OBJ not be any trouble? Like, seriously, this is the question every team's going to ask. Like, is Odell Beckham Jr. going to come and be a great player, a great teammate, or is he going to come and be a bad teammate, a mediocre player, and a huge distraction? Like, that's the one thing that I worry about with Odell Beckham Jr., and even though the Falcons could really use him, I just don't think that he necessarily fits what the culture is, at least what they're trying to build right now in Atlanta. Now, if you could guarantee me that he would be a good teammate and be a good part of the culture, I'd 100% be down for signing him. The other issue is that you don't have any money. Like, Atlanta has about, last time I checked this morning, $700,000 in free cap space, and Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be worth a lot more than that, even though probably less than $10 million based on his current situation. So while I don't say never, because they do need a wide receiver, and we've talked about the fact that Ridley is out right now, and the only really good wide receiver they have right now is not even a wide receiver. His name's Kyle Pitts. I would like the idea. I just don't think financially it makes sense, and I really don't think it makes sense from just a team-building standpoint. I think Atlanta will be drafting a wide receiver next year. There's a question about that a little bit later on in the video. I think they're going to need to add somebody in case Ridley leaves in free agency or he gets traded next year, or they just need somebody opposite of him because Russell Gage and Tajay Sharp are not really the answer right now in terms of number 2 wide receiver. So I would not expect it. Don't hold your breath, but I will ask you guys this question with a pinned comment down below. Should they? Like, do you think the Falcons should take a look at signing OBJ? If you think they should, type Y down below for yes. Think they should not, then go ahead and type N down below for no. All right, next question comes from Rohan10, big fan of the show. It says, tough question to answer, but what is your realistic timetable for Ridley's return? Will it be this year, or will we have to wait till next year? End quote. I think it is going to be this year, but I honestly have no idea. And I've kind of been asking around here in Atlanta, and no one really knows. Like, I don't think Ridley comes back soon, if that's what your question is asking right now. Like, I don't see him, magically playing this week. I know he's officially probably out this week. I don't see him playing next week. Like, I think it's going to be kind of a week-to-week basis in terms of Calvin Ridley, but it doesn't seem like a scenario where he just needs a week off and he's going to come back right. Like, remember, he took a week off for mental health issues and then came back and then had taken, and then took that other leave of absence that we're currently going through right now. So I don't think he comes back anytime soon, and I guess there is probably a possibility that he doesn't come back at all this year, which, again, as I've talked about multiple times here on the show regarding Calvin Ridley, we can't judge him or blame him or know anything that's going on because it's a mental health thing, it's an internal thing. We got to respect that for Calvin Ridley, but at the same time, it's a big blow for a Falcon team that is in the hunt for a 7th seed wildcard spot. Like, I mean, let's be real. If Calvin Ridley was playing as a number 1 wide receiver this year, which he wasn't really at the beginning of the year, but if he could get back to that level and actually play, the Falcons could very much be, at least offensively, a playoff team. Now, defensively is a different story. We talked about that a lot on the show, but I just don't think he's going to come back anytime soon. I hope he does. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes back next week, because, again, probably not going to play on Sunday against the Saints because they need him out there, but everything I keep hearing is that he's not coming back anytime soon. Now, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. If he does come back anytime soon, we'll cover it here on the channel. If they go, make a crazy move for Odell Beckham Jr. or sign a guy like Deshaun Jackson, all these players we keep talking about, we will cover it here on the channels. We approach 4,000 subs here. I know a lot of you guys are already subscribers. If that's the case, I appreciate each and every one of you, but if you are not, go down below and help us grow. Hit that red subscribe button. Timey says, what position do you think our first rounder should be? Honestly, I think the Falcons must go pass rusher, and I teeter on this because, of course, depending on where they're at, we can talk about maybe needing an offensive lineman or maybe needing another cornerback or maybe safety, and there's some good safeties in this draft, although I really don't think that they go safety in the first round because they drafted Richie Grant next year, but I really do think that, even if you think they need a quarterback, I just don't think you spend a first-round draft pick on it unless Matt Ryan falls off a cliff over the final half of the year, which, of course, you guys know I'm a Matt Ryan fan. I don't see that happening, so I think pass rusher. I think that wherever they're at, they have to get the best pass rusher available because eventually you got to start putting, stock into the defensive line. Like, they really didn't do that this past draft. Like, they did it kind of later on in the draft, but early on, they went with safety, they went with tight end. Like, they have not really addressed the defensive line in any draft in recent history, going back to Takk McKinley, kind of the last time they went ahead and spent a big, first-round draft pick on a pass rusher. So they got to go pass rusher because right now, as I just mentioned, the offense is playoff ready, and I just don't think the defense is going to get there. And I don't see it getting there at all this year, depending on what happens the next couple of weeks. But as we're going to see probably on Sunday against the Saints, not being able to get pressure on Trevor Siemian is going to be a problem, and it continues to be a problem basically the entire year. So they got to go pass rusher, right? Like, they just have to go ahead and get a defensive end. Before we get into our next question here, quick shout out to our friends at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/BetFalcons. Use that promo code Falcons125. Get a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up, and where you can essentially bet on the Falcons. I mean, listen, if you want to think the Falcons can win on Sunday, you think the Falcons are going to lose on Sunday, it's a fun way to go ahead and bet on your favorite NFL team. You'd also bet on, or I guess you could have bet on the Braves, as they of course are having their championship parade in Atlanta today. Traffic is like crazy right now. But the Atlanta United, the Hawks, they're getting started here, looking good. Although they lost last night to the I think it was the Jazz. Either way, betting is, to me, a fun new hobby that I've been doing over the past couple of years. I don't go crazy, right? I do $10 for 5 games. So I do $10 each game, so $50 a weekend is essentially what I do. And I'm in the green so far. So you don't have to be some sort of, crazy gambler and betting, $1,000 a weekend, although you can. I just go with the kind of the cheaper stuff and have fun with it. And you guys can do that too. Our friends at BetUS, again, chatsports.com/BetFalcons. That promo code is Falcons125. Elijah McGeorge says, what are our chances against the Saints? Good question. The Saints are a very interesting football team because I originally said at the beginning of the year, they're fool's gold. They had that big win against Aaron Rodgers early on, and then that bad loss to the Carolina Panthers, and it was like, guys, this is not a good football team. Jameis goes down, and they really, they had their best game of the year last week in that win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was Trevor Siemian at quarterback. Like, Trevor Siemian looked great. Now, the report today is that Trevor Siemian will start on Sunday. They thought they could bring back Taysom Hill, but Siemian played too well to, not put him out there, and plus, we all know that Taysom Hill, to me, is such a gimmicky guy. He's not a true starting quarterback in the National Football League. So I think that the Saints are actually pretty good. Now, with that being said, if Atlanta can figure out a way to get stops defensively, I think that they can score. I think that this is a defense that's good, that's decent, but the Falcons can definitely score offensively, and even without Calvin Ridley, hopefully you're able to have another big Kyle Pitts game, and if you're not able to have a big Kyle Pitts game, then which wide receiver is going to step up? Is it Tajay Sharp? Is it Russell Gage? Is it Lamar Zaccheaus? Is it somebody else? Some of these wide receivers without Calvin Ridley, if Kyle Pitts is not going off for 10 catches and 110 yards, one of them has got to step up, and so I hope it's the Falcons. I really do, because a loss here, you keep falling down in the loss column, makes it tough for that dream of a 7th seed in the wild card. But I'll ask you guys this. Who do you got? Atlanta or New Orleans? ATL down below for Atlanta, or NOLA down below for the Saints. I want to see what Falcon fans are thinking in terms of that matchup. eDog1 says, would you spend a high draft pick on a running back next year? Depends on how high, right? First, second round, that to me is just too early for running backs. We see what happens with Saquon Barkley's of the world, and whenever you take a running back that high, it's just scary, right? They have to basically be Derrick Henry or Zeke Elliott, or else they're pretty much not worth it. And we're watching right now is the the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Najee Harris at 24 overall, and he's been good, but that's just high. I'd rather get pass rusher, cornerback, obviously early on. But they do need a new running back next year. Like, don't get me wrong, they've got to add a running back. Now, I would do it as a trade. I talked about Marlon Mack and Miles Sanders, 2 guys that I would love to add to Philadelphia, but there'll be other running backs available at the trade once the new league year starts in the spring of next year. And so, get to the draft, you could trade away a later on draft pick for a running back, but they at least can't pass on someone like a Michael Carter or Javonte Williams or a Kenneth Gainwell, 3 running backs that I thought they would take a look at this year in the draft, and they decided not to, including Javonte Williams, who they essentially let Denver come ahead and trade with them to take the running back. So they will add a new running back next year. I just don't think it'll be that high. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy high in terms of like a first or a second round draft pick, because this team, even though they need a running back, they need a lot of other spots more so, especially on the defensive side of the football, because as I keep saying, this is an offense that to me is good to go right now, especially if Ridley ever comes back and gets to a very, very high level. So I was always poo-pooing the Mike Davis addition this offseason. I still am there. I think I'm kind of vindicated on that because he's not been that special. But obviously, he's going to probably be able to be the number 1 running back the rest of the year unless Cordell Patterson keeps getting more touches, which maybe, obviously, he should. Okay, all for today on this Atlanta Falcons mailbag video here on Atlanta Falcons Today. Make sure you guys use the hashtag Falcons down below in the comment section to ask a mailbag question for next week. All of these questions came essentially from last week's mailbag video in the comment section. So if you guys want to be a part of this, you must first be a subscriber. Go down below, use the hashtag Falcons, and then ask any sort of Falcon-related question you could possibly want. Make it good, too, because I had a lot of people ask me, some interesting questions that didn't really apply to the show today. And so you gotta make sure it's relevant, make sure it's good. Go down below, use the hashtag Falcons. I think we can talk a little draft next week, right? I think I'd be fine with answering some draft questions. So if you guys want to jump in on the mailbag videos, go down below, use that hashtag Falcons, and ask away. And again, we're trying to get to 4K subs here on the channel because we give you guys the latest and greatest Falcon stuff. Like, you turn on ESPN and you try and get some updates on the Falcons, like, you're not gonna get nothing. Like, literally, today, you're gonna get 0 on the Atlanta Falcons unless they sign OBJ, which, again, I don't think that they will. So we're your one-stop shop, and we, of course, will have a full breakdown of the Falcons and Saints game on Monday.